three certainties in life: death, taxes, and Hulk Hogan, basically being in it for himself.
The whole atmosphere of the match just changes. It's like halfway through it, it just goes boom, and then people are shouting in Austin. It's like I've never seen that in a match before that.
I'd never actually heard Vince McMahon doing commentary. It is so weird. What? Because he's
I
just
know,
seems like normal guy. How wrong were we?
very.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Raw is Ginger. Welcome back to Raw is Ginger with your host Kevin Tierney and myself, Andrew Durnan. Kev, how you getting on, my man?
I'm getting on pretty well. I was watching the match just before I come on, so just to remind myself how it went. So
Yep.
I've been enjoying myself.
Good. Well, and like I say, I was doing the same. I was watching the match, watching some of the kind of behind the scenes stuff as well. I'm doing a little bit of research on it because I have to admit, this is one that I actually did not watch firsthand when it came out. I think this was just before I started really getting into the wrestling. I'd seen the odd match here and there, but so it was one that was pretty new for me. But it's not a new match. So the match that we are going to be discussing today took place at the WrestleMania 13, March 23rd, 1997. And it is Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret Hart in the I Quit match with Ken Shamrock as the special guest referee. This was held in Richmond, Illinois, at the Rosemont Horizon Center. And it had an attendance of 18,197 people, apparently, because we all know that's just what we all know how people like to, inflate the numbers and all that stuff. So we just have to be a bit more guarded with what we're doing. So yeah, we'll wait and see what that was like. But yeah, so Kev, did you watch this live?
I did watch this live. I've been watching WrestleManias live since WrestleMania 6.
Wow.
Which was 1990, I believe.
That's
And the
wild.
big match for that was Hogan versus Warrior, title versus title.
Oh yeah.
That was my first live events that I watched.
One of the rare occasions where Hogan got beat clean. And
Just because after the 3 count, you see him go.
Just that little
because
jump up.
He couldn't help himself. He couldn't help himself. He never could.
No, but it's just it's in lore because it's quite ironic. Last night I was actually watching on Cultaholic Wrestling, and it was a top 10 times Hulk Hogan had got beat clean. And that was one of them, and it was like, and you see them doing that just as the 3 has gone down. So the torch is still passed, but the focus is still on him and him looking all sad and all that stuff. And I was like, and the starting thing that he said is like, there's 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and Hulk Hogan, basically being in it for himself. And they went, it's like, but there's a jellyfish that is immortal. Rich people avoid taxes, so the only certainty is Hulk Hogan. And I was like, that's why I like Cultaholic Wrestling.
It's so true.
Yeah. That's why I like Cultaholic Wrestling, because they get a good bit of humor in there as well. And I was like, that was fantastic. I was just passing myself laughing. Oh, it was great. So, what were your thoughts when you first watched this? Back when you were a youngster.
Well, it was like, this was the first match where I'd really seen like that amount of brutality in a match. I mean, there was matches before that were like brutal, but this was like beyond it. And it's just, for like 3/4 of it, Stone Cold just got blood pouring down his head.
It's like,
they're fighting everywhere.
They
take out the Spanish announced team as usual.
Those
because if you don't take them out, that's is it even a live event?
Yeah, at least back then anyway. I would love to try and find the Spanish announced team and get them as guests on this podcast. To find out if they actually speak English.
A lot of them
Not
do.
not not in a racist or a bad way, just so we could actually hear, because you always heard them speaking Spanish because we're a Spanish announced team. So I always wanted to hear what their English would be like, and also find out if they felt like it was racist that it was their table that was always getting the kicked out of it.
Hmm.
And just what would be interesting. Everybody's like, "Oh, would you want to interview Chris Jericho? Would you want to interview The Rock?" And I'm like, "No, I want the obscure ones. I want like referee Nick Patrick as well, the heel ref, and see,
Carlos Carrera,
yeah,
Spanish announcer extraordinaire.
hmm just having all these different ones on it and be like, right, what was it like being part of that madness at the
Mhm.
time? Because you hear it for the wrestlers, but their perspective out is nuts because they were just jacked up on steroids constantly.
Yeah.
So everything would be like, it was wild. And I'm like, you were on steroids, cocaine, multitudes of alcohol, multitudes of other drugs, and you had Hulk Hogan in your midst. So it's always going to be insane.
Or you've got the other end where it's Mankind, Mick Foley. It's like, what do you remember of that match? It's like, I don't know. I got concussed in the first minute, and I don't remember anything about it.
Yep. A lot of them are like, so what do you remember? Nothing.
I remember walking to the ring,
Mm,
and that was it.
usually you'd be lucky if that was what they remembered. Yeah.
I know.
So for anybody that is interested in our opinions, obviously stick around because it's going to be one hell of a ride. So did you watch like the vignette bit beforehand as well? The
I did.
summary.
I
What
did.
did you
Yeah.
make of it?
I think that was really the start of them really beginning to know how to build up a match. Before
Mm,
then, it was like interview, interview, match,
yeah,
and that was like they'd done it before, like video packages before matches and stuff. But
yeah.
that was like the first time where it was like these two want to kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
Here's why. And I mean, the greatest video package again was for WrestleMania 17, The
Oh
Rock
yeah.
versus Austin. That is one of the best video packages before a match.
Mm-hmm.
But
100%.
but this is them starting to know how to build that up to
Mm-hmm.
that level. It took them
Yeah.
10 years to sort of start getting to like where they are with their video packages. They've sort of went back now,
Mm-hmm.
but it took them like 10 years. They started doing it at like WrestleMania 7, 6, 7 is when they
Yeah.
started like small, like it was like a minute, 45 seconds to a minute, and then they started getting a bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the first one where it was like, this match is going to be something
Yeah.
because of the whole build up from it. It's like this is going to be something, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
they hadn't quite got it 100%. They were getting there, but it just needed an extra kick, I think,
Yeah.
for it to like build up the match that wee bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things that I did kind of find interesting when I was doing the kind of backstories that originally this match didn't look like it was going to happen because of everything that had happened in the previous WrestleMania with
Mm-hmm.
Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Essentially, it looked like it was going to build back up to that again, and then we
Yeah.
had the infamous. For anybody that's unaware, this was the infamous time where Shawn Michaels lost his smile. Now, I've watched that What's the Smile moment, and everybody says that was, you could just tell it was bullshit. But I genuinely don't think anybody watching it at the time would have been able to tell. Hindsight's a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful thing. I don't think anybody could tell at that point. If someone's like not feeling it, well, normally you give them the benefit of the doubt, especially if it's your key player, like your key star. Well, but it was kind of afterwards when, ironically, Brett had said, "Look, he's talking shite,"
Mm-hmm.
was when people started going, "Oh, maybe he
Wait a
is
minute,
talking
yes,
shite."
huh?
Well, whereas I was just like, well, yeah, well, I mean, everybody knows what Shawn Michaels was like back then. Shawn Michaels knows what Shawn Michaels was like back then.
Yeah.
Well, so he doesn't hide from it. But yeah, I think it was just he just didn't want to do the honors to Brett like Brett done for him the previous year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and yes, bit of a pussy move, but that's what he was like back then. So weren't really expecting anything different. But in a way, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have this match that we have got.
Yeah. And also, this was really Stone Cold Steve Austin coming in to like the top tier. Until then, he'd been like Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah.
He'd been a mid carder, but people were loving him.
Yeah.
And they're like, right, we need to put him in a match with somebody who we can put him in with Bret. Bret can have matches with anybody, and he'll sell it perfectly.
Yeah.
Bret's going to win. We all knew that Bret was going to win going in. But he could do the match and make it look as if he might lose.
Yeah.
And this is what cemented Stone Cold as a top tier act, was this match.
Yeah. Because before this point, he had been in the Ringmaster gimmick with Ted DiBiase. And then got King of the Ring. And the infamous Austin 316 promo was born. And he was starting to go on the rise. And at this point, Bret Hart was starting to middle a little bit. Beforehand, he'd just been, the straightforward babyface. And at this point, it was you were starting to see what was dubbed by Austin as, the crybaby. And it just showed you how good the kayfabe was at the time, because it felt legit for him. Like because he was going off like this and this, I feel disrespected, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, yeah, you can't exactly rule it out, because it's exactly what he was saying. And they were able to use kind of behind the scenes stuff to amplify the realness. Like, he took when he was out injured, and then he had the meeting with WCW and he knocked it back. They played it in and was like, yep, I did have a meeting with another company, but turned it down because I love this company and I'll be WWE forever. Hindsight, again, we know that's total bullshit, but then again, if certain other events, which we'll talk about one day, hadn't happened, then I think that would have been the case. Because he did infamously say, make me a better offer to Vince, and Vince was like, yeah, can I? And that was it. And speaking of Vince McMahon, first time I'd actually heard him in the commentator's box.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd always heard wee snippets here and there, but because it's the first time I was watching proper match, I'd never actually heard Vince McMahon doing commentary. It is so weird. Because he's just just seems like normal guy. How wrong were we?
Very, very wrong. Because when he started doing the commentating, it was he was doing it with Jesse the Body Ventura. He was doing it with Macho Man. He was doing it with Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
So he's been doing it with all these big color commentator guys who know wrestling as much as he does. And people just thought he's just the commentator. Little did they know that he was actually running the entire thing. He gets there at 4 a.m. He's helping set up the ring. He's helping do this. He's helping do that. He's doing the commentating. He's producing matches. I mean, it's surprising that he didn't die in the 90s, considering all the matches that he was doing as well and stuff. And it's like, how is he alive?
Steroids and probably a lot of cocaine.
Probably.
Just like everybody else. So we had obviously the kind of promo beforehand, and Ken Shamrock was brought in, UFC fighter at the time, and they thought this would be a wise idea because him being in it added instant credibility to the masses, that weren't kind of in with the wrestling.
Yeah.
What did you think of having Ken Shamrock in it? Because essentially he's a ref, so you're not really involved until
I think it was good.
Excuse me, until a certain point.
I think it was good getting somebody in who you could look at and go, he could legitimately kick both their asses at the same time. I mean, you looked at him then, he's just built. I mean, he's not really changed much. The only thing that's different now is he got a couple of wrinkles and greyer hair, but he's still built like a tank.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's
it's
ridiculously
like
scary.
they did need a decent referee. I mean, they could have got Errol Hebner in, who's done a multitude of matches,
Mm,
but they needed somebody more physical because of how
yeah,
physical this match was going to be,
yeah. And it
and
happened
getting
right.
somebody from UFC.
Mm, and it happened, the physicality, as you were talking about, happened right for the get-go. What
Yep.
when Austin just attacked Hart, who was still in his entrance attire. What,
Yeah.
and they were just beating the utter crap out of each other. What, and it just goes, then it goes straight outside the ring.
Yeah.
What, and we don't see the ring for quite a while after that.
We don't. It's like 7 or 8 minutes, and that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't seem like a long time. But when you're fighting in the audience and
Mm-hmm.
round the back, I mean that's a long time.
Yep, because Hart tossed Austin into the steel ring post. Austin drove him into a steel barrier. What, then, as you said, they started fighting in the crowd. What, and both men were hitting each other with, let's just say, several foreign objects.
Yep.
What, as they were moving up the steps, what, and further into the crowd and higher up into the crowd. What, and then it's Shamrock's job to try and usher them back
Get them
down.
back.
What, and again, like you said, now looking back on it, only Shamrock would have had that sweet to go, get your arses back to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
What, and it's an interesting kind of match to go with because the I Quit match, what is essentially a submission match.
Yeah.
And Austin was originally against the idea of a no DQ submission match because he wasn't to what his own admission, like he wasn't like a submission wrestler. Hart
Yeah.
was. But I think having this as the start part of it, what played into Austin's strengths, but
Mm-hmm.
it was also like the compromise for Austin didn't feel comfortable in the submission. Hart wouldn't have felt comfortable doing like a brawling style, considering his background and how he was as a wrestler and how he trained. That
Yeah.
so do you think that was kind of the happy medium when they were kind of planning it out? It was like,
I
right, you get your style, then I can get my style.
I think it probably was because Austin's knee by this point was done.
Mm,
It was like the mid-90s that he done it in.
yeah.
So that's when his fighting style had to change. He could do things like that, but then he had to like completely revamp his wrestling style,
Mm,
which is why he became the brawler type,
yeah.
because it's easier to do with that injury. You
Yeah.
don't need to be as fast because he was fast when he was younger. He would do like
Mm,
standing drop kicks and stuff like that. I've
hmm
seen some of his WCW matches, and it's like he's so physical
hmm
in those matches.
Yeah.
He does like drop kicks from the top rope and stuff like that.
hmm
Because it was him and Brian Pillman, and they were both like high flyers,
Yeah.
but they were like built. They were big guys, and they were like
hmm
high flyers. I thought that is something that not many people had seen.
Yeah.
And then he had to change to this completely brawler type. Now, Bret Hart, who was trained in the dungeon by his dad, he'll have been used to the brawler type because his dad
Mm,
was a brawler, even though he was a technical wrestler. He was a brawler,
yeah.
so he'll have been used to that type of training. So it's easy for him to go and do that type of match. It's not
Yeah.
He's not as comfortable as he would be in like a straight wrestling match,
Mm,
a technical match. That's what he is. But he is one of these people that can go out of their comfort range and do things like that.
mm,
And I think Austin saying we should go out, we should do this, work our way around, and that'll take like a good like 10 minutes probably,
mm,
and then we can get back into the ring and do all the technical stuff.
yeah.
So
Well,
I think that that's what they've done. Yeah,
yeah, and as you said, like they eventually got back to the ring, and that was when what, as you said, Hart started focusing on Austin's leg,
yeah,
and started working on that, and what, and I think it was when this started, when he started focusing on the leg, that I could see that the heel thing was coming, because
yeah,
most baby faces what wouldn't bother about an injury, like they usually fight through the injury and just try and watch out, but the heels are always like go for the injury, get the advantage, dirty tactics
yeah.
any way we can. So I was like, here we go. Well, I think this is the start of the heel turn. and then, busts him open with an Irish whip straight into the steel barricade. And
Yep.
they're bleeding rather profusely.
Yep.
And something that you see the stills nowadays, like the photos from that event. And you look at Austin, just like in his face, like and seeing kind of one of the more infamous poses when he's in the sharpshooter, it doesn't look like there's a lot of blood.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he's busted.
That's because most of it's on the mat.
Exactly, like I say, most of it is on the mat because when he's doing those poses, and you see him, it doesn't look like there's much there. Like, I mean, I've seen worse kind of since then. I mean, the infamous Eddie Guerrero one.
Oh my God.
With JBL, Christ Almighty, that was horrible.
He was more blood than person.
Exactly, but a lot of people don't realize until they watch the match. Austin was more blood than person as well. It was just littered about everywhere else. It was like any kind of opportunity to just wipe a bit of blood away, whether it was on a ring post or wipe it on the mat when he's getting the submission moves or something done to him. That was basically him going, right, wipe it away. There we go. And we carry on. But had there been that much blood seen in a ring before that, from what you remember?
From what I remember, there was maybe like one or two matches before that where there had been as much blood. One of them was a Ric Flair versus Macho Man.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was another WrestleMania.
Yeah, that would usually be a bloodbath, in fairness.
Yeah, and like Ric Flair was just covered, and then his hair was red.
Yeah, I remember. I never seen one of the pictures of that, and it was like his hair, just like that kind of like the red from his blood, and I was like, whoa. Yeah. Especially considering he's had like bleach blonde white hair since he was like 20.
I know.
So it was just weird seeing a different color up there. And then,
but I think that was like one of the worst matches for blood between Austin, and I can't really think of any other ones.
That's true.
It was mostly after with like all the hardcore stuff and like ECW people coming in that started to get blood, and 97 was just like the start of the Attitude Era, so it was like after that where it's like this is something, because people always say that match was like that was the start of the Attitude Era, that was it starting.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah,
I think it would be aye.
Well, and at that point when blood's coming, you think, okay, right, maybe it'll slow down a little bit. No, the brutality starts to speed up because Hart starts using the steel chair on Austin's leg.
Yep.
And then the bit that I was like, whoa, I can't believe I'm watching this. Austin choking Hart with a TV cable. I was like, holy moly, where's this coming from? Never see something like that. And then just when you think it's a case of like, wow, what can it go anymore? Hart with a ring bell, straight up, right off his head. And I'm like, I even heard that ring. Heard that go ding as it crashed off. And I'm like, Christ.
Yep.
It just shows you. And again, it was showing the turn of Bret Hart as a heel character because he was using those types of moves that a heel would use.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is leading to building up to what was going to be like the next night, him officially turning heel. I was like, this is it.
They teased Bret Hart turning heel a couple of times. When he started in the Hart Foundation, they were a heel tag team. They were managed by Jimmy Hart.
Yeah.
So he'd done his heel, and then he became a singles wrestler, and then he was a babyface right up until I think it was WrestleMania 7, and it was him versus Roddy Piper for the Intercontinental belt, and Roddy Piper won, and he was going to whack him with the belt. Bret Hart had the belt, and he was going to whack him with it, and then he's like, and then he gave it to him, and it's like, are they going to turn him heel? Is that what they're going for?
Yeah.
But that was like 6 years before that, so it's like maybe he could, and people were like, "Oh my god," because that was another brutal match.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Um,
it does make you wonder, like, when a wrestler that you like really kind of like and idolize turns heel, what in the audience you just feel like your heart is breaking. I mean, because I started following Chris Jericho when he was a
mhm.
babyface, and as I watched him turn heel, but it was like I was like, no, bring him back, bring back my boy, bring him back to me. What? But it turned out that was that. Like looking back on it, that's some of the best work that Jericho had ever done. Well,
Totally, yeah,
and he's fantastic as a heel. But then again, most people are because you get to be someone that you're not, which is an asshole.
yep.
Uh,
And
and
then there's
then,
people that are just babyface the entire run, even
yeah,
though sometimes they're classed as like they're classed as the heel. People
mm,
just love him. Like RVD, he's
mm,
never completely been a heel.
yeah,
He's always been a babyface. No matter
yeah,
what company he goes to, people just love him. No matter what he does or who he beats up just for
mm,
random reasons, they love him.
yeah. And when he was in the Alliance as well, like he was the one that everybody like gravitated to. Well, they were like,
Yeah,
this guy's bringing a style we've not seen in WWF at that point.
yeah,
What at least it was coming into more prominence. I mean, you had it with like the Hardys, obviously,
yeah,
but as a singles competitor, it was like, oh, this is something new, something unique. What and people just gravitated. I think it helped RVD was just looked like well, basically what he is, a stoner surfer dude. So people
yeah.
were just like, yep, we like you. You're cool.
I wonder why that is.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder why. I wonder why. And then we come to what I believe is the longest sharpshooter in the history of sharpshooters.
Three
Now,
and a half minutes.
3.5
Three and a
minutes.
half minutes.
Yeah, I
It
didn't.
breaks out a bit, but he
Mm,
didn't let go. So it's a
mm.
continuation, and it was 3.5 minutes, I believe.
Now, I don't care like if wrestling's fake, real, whatever. Like what we all know the truth, but having anybody in that type of position for 3.5 minutes.
Especially
That,
when he's got a duff knee.
yep, a duff knee, blood is pouring out his head. That is gonna hurt like a mofo, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I don't know about you, but when I was watching it back, I just started feeling more and more uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Like because you're waiting for the kind, you know what's coming. You know, we all know the ending of the match, but it felt like it took so long to get there that I was like, what again? What I was feeling just genuinely concerned
mm-hmm.
for Austin. Well, I was like, he's gonna kill him.
Yeah, yes,
I was like, he's actually gonna kill him. Well, I mean, spoiler alert, he's alive and well and probably the fittest he's ever been. But still, what even watching it, what knowing the end, and you're just like, well, get to the bit where he passes out already, so this match can end, please. Oh,
I know.
it was
It's just you can actually see the life fading out of him because he's lost so much blood that he is actually starting to pass out.
yeah,
And at one point, you can hear him saying to Ken Shamrock, "I'm passing out."
yeah,
And Ken Shamrock's like, "You want to call it? You want to call it?" He's like, "No, we'll do the finish. I'm just going to pass out, and
mm,
then bring me around later." And
what,
and you can hear Ken Shamrock saying to Bret, "He's going to pass out,"
mm.
and Bret's like, "Will I stop?" He's like, "No, you have to keep
It's like
going.
it's like keep going, keep going.
Just wait till he passes out, and I'll tell you when to stop."
Mm-hmm. So Austin finally passes out. Bret Hart declared the winner, which we all knew was coming.
Yeah.
And then something happened that not a lot of people can pull off, especially these days in wrestling, I think. It's the double turn. If anybody that is maybe not aware of the double turn, it's when an established character who is a babyface at the start of the match turns heel at the end, and the heel at the start of the match turns into the babyface. Very rare to do, very difficult to pull off, but I think this one is like the masterclass of how to do it.
Yeah.
Because Hart had won, what? Because Austin passed out. He didn't submit.
Nope.
But Hart is just like, no, I wanted you to submit. I'm going to waylay on you. And starts leathering the utter crap out of him. To which point Ken Shamrock has to suplex him to get him to stop. And go, right, if you're going to pick on somebody, pick on me. I'm right here. And Hart very wisely went, I'm out. And everybody's like, boo. And I'm like, Ken Shamrock just challenged you to a fight. I don't care who you are. You don't get involved in that.
Nope.
That's the and
Boo me all you like. I'm not fighting him.
I'm like, that's the smartest move you could have made. What? I mean, when just watching that suplex, in fairness, that looked really brutal. Well, I looked at it and I was like, whoa. It looked more like an angle slam to me.
It was a variation.
Yeah. Like before Angles came on the scene, it was kind of like, yeah, here we go. Wonder if Angle looked at it and thought, interesting move, I could pull that off. Yeah. So obviously, so that happens. Hart's like, he's out. Austin comes round. I have no clue how he did that in any way, shape, or form. What storyline or not, the amount of blood that he lost, how has he actually got any blood left in his legs? It's unreal. I couldn't believe it.
I know.
What? In the infamous Austin style, what, a ref is helping him, and he goes,
shoves him,
stunner, straight away. What? And he gets up and walks back, and the crowd has went from thinking that he's the heel, he's now the baby face. What? Because he would rather go through excruciating pain and pass out from that pain than say I quit.
Yep.
And that was, I think, the real start of the renaissance of Austin. His stock was on the rise, but he still was in that kind of heelish persona. I think that was when he officially became the anti-hero.
Yeah, and he would stay like that until WrestleMania 17.
Yep, definitely. Well, and I would say that was the start of, Golden Age Austin, as we would call it, if he was a superhero.
Yeah,
he essentially was. Austin was the Deadpool of the WWF, basically. Yep. Well, and yeah, it was just one of the most interesting finishes. I've seen. It was one that I was actually I was interested to see how they done it, because I'd obviously heard about the double turn. Well, I knew about it, but I wanted to see it actually play out. And see how it went about. And it was, I think what made it so good was that I don't think there was really a template for it beforehand, was there?
I don't think so. I mean, there have been like people backstabbing people before, but there'd never been something like, it was just two people, and then I mean, you could feel it during the course of the match that people were starting to cheer Austin.
Yeah.
And starting to boo Bret, and it's like, why has this change happened?
Yeah.
What's happened that has changed people's opinions so much? And it's just the fact that Stone Cold would not give up. That he would just look, I don't care that you could put me in any move and make me submit. I'm not going to submit to you. You're going to have to kill me.
Yep.
And by this point, he'd been put in like 3 or 4 different submission moves, and he hadn't given up. And it's like, these were like hardcore submission moves.
Yeah.
He was using. It wasn't the sharpshooter. He was using like significantly more visual submission moves, because the sharpshooter's not a visually. I mean, it's that whole move is about Bret. It's about him being on top. It's him showing, look at me. Yeah. That's what the sharpshooter's about.
Yeah.
That's why Sting done it, but his is a variation, and he's off to the side a bit. So it's like, I'm looking at you. Whereas Bret, it's like, no, I am above you. And he was doing all these other moves where it's like, it's putting them on us the same level where he can look him in the eyes and go, I'm going to make you quit this match. I'm going to show you that I am better than you. And it's like, people are like, that's not Bret Hart. That's not what he does. And it's just the whole atmosphere of the match just changes. It's like halfway through it, it just goes boom, and then people are shouting in Austin. It's like, I've never seen that in a match before that. And I don't think up until now I've seen it since then.
No, WrestleMania 18. Rock and
That
Hogan.
was after the match. That was after the match, though.
I know, but during the match as well, what the turn happened. But it wasn't an intentional turn.
Yeah.
But Hogan was meant to be the heel, Rock the babyface, and that was the way it was meant to stay. But Hulkamania was just running wild that night. Because that was his first time back in a ring in 8 years or something?
Something like that, yeah.
See,
what I thought was going to happen with that match was I thought that the NWO were going to come down and then start beating up Hogan, and The Rock was going to say, yeah, I'm the leader of the NWO now. And it's like, if they'd done that, I think the NWO might have lasted a wee bit longer than what they did when they came back.
There could have been a potential for that. There could have been, I genuinely think if it was still remaining as Hogan heel and Rock babyface and the crowd hadn't kind of turned the way they did, I think maybe NWO would have came down and, bailed Hogan out.
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, it's Hogan. But when they were in that ring and the crowd just started to shift for Hulkamania, and they're in it as well, they're like, right, we got to call this on the fly. We got to call this because they want you as the babyface. They don't want to see me beat you. So let's change it up a little. And Hulk started hulking. The Rock started doing some preludes of what we would see when he went Hollywood. Hollywood Rock when he came back as the heel. So we're starting to see some traits of that as well. And then, of course, spoiler alert, Rock beat him. And by that point, it's just like, okay, it's happened. And they both shake hands, and it's just like, whoa. Because Hogan was meant to remain heel.
Yeah.
And then that match happened, and they just went, you have to go back to Hulk Hogan. You can't be Hollywood anymore.
Yeah.
And it's purely because the crowd just fed off it. They love him. And the next night, he's just like, I love you guys. I'm back. And I'm not gonna lie, that would feed anybody's ego. If you feed the William Shatner of wrestling that type of ego, holy crap, that would have been. That's definitely something. I'm surprised he could have made it. And his head would have been that huge, but rightfully so. In fairness, in some ways, you're like, it's Hulk Hogan, but he saved a company for like 2 decades. So you don't get that without,
he did,
earning some points. Anyway, that's the only other time that I've seen a double turn work so effectively. And again, I think it's because it was like this match. It was natural. It was organic. I know there was kind of a game plan for Hart to potentially turn heel. But again, I think the crowd sold it. The crowd told the wrestlers what they wanted. They were like, right, Austin, fight. Don't give up. And they were like, oh, I don't like these tactics you're using, Bret. You're using a chair on him. That's not the Bret we know. You hit him with a ring bell. That's not the Bret we know. Again, as you mentioned with the submissions, you're just wanting to dominate him and make him tap. That's not the Bret we know. So it played out just some perfect storytelling because it's live theater and the audience decided this is the way we want to go.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I find is quite difficult with the modern day wrestling. The crowd tell you what they want. And WWE go, nah, this is what we want. This is what we want, and you will like it. And then the crowd go, no, we don't. This sucks. Bring us this.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's something that needs to come back. What, read off your audience, let them kind of decide what they want. What, but then again, it also means you have to give your wrestlers more creative freedom. And I don't
Yeah.
think there's only certain personalities now in that roster I think could get away with that. I mean, Edge and
Yeah.
Randy Orton straight away.
Yeah.
What are the main ones that I think could get away with, turning what
Yeah.
that what if the situation required it. Like as much as like guys like Roman Reigns are, they're now the ticket. Initially they weren't. What, but the crowd did. What, but the only reason he's now popular is because the crowd decided it. The crowd was like, we don't want him pushed as a baby face. We want to boo him because we don't like him. And they went, okay, eventually we'll get there. And they finally got there, and now this is some of the best work he's ever done.
It is. It's. I mean, even his matches are, they're starting to become more like wrestling matches. I mean, he's been champion for near enough 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
And like before he was the champion, all the fights between him and Brock Lesnar, it's just so boring. It's the same thing every single time.
Yeah.
And
tell the tractor.
And Brock's run then, I was not enjoying it. I was not enjoying it. But when Roman got the belt and then Brock came back and didn't get the belt, and then they just sent him off with Bobby Lashley and things like that. It's like he's back to where he was in like 2002 when he just left Paul Heyman and was like being a babyface for a bit.
Yeah.
And he's just having a laugh because I'm in my 40s now. I've made all the money I want.
Yeah.
I don't really want titles anymore. I just want to come in, beat some people up, have some fun.
Yeah.
And apparently he sits back. Apparently he sits backstage with oh god, what's his name? R-Truth.
Hey.
He just sits backstage with him, and they just sit and have a laugh.
Fair dude.
That's because one of the promos is Brock's in the ring saying about how he's going to be in the Royal Rumble, and then R-Truth comes down. He's like, yeah. Oh, you're going to be in the Rumble? Well, you know what? I'm putting myself in the Rumble, and I'm going to put you out, Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman's standing in the corner like that, and you just see Brock, and he just starts pissing himself.
Yeah, he buckles.
Vince was like to him. Vince was like, go out and make him laugh. I want you to break him. And he done it. It's like...
Yep. It's basically like if you say to Paul Heyman, do a shoot. What? And he's like, I can do a shoot, but it's going to be brutal.
Yeah.
And Vince just says, draw me money.
Like the one that he did to Vince. It's like, do you want to know what I'm going to say? It's like, nope, just make me money.
Yep.
It's like, okay, I'm going to say some things, and you might want to hit me, but I'm telling you just now, you've told me to say it. It's like, say whatever you want.
Draw me money.
And he
was his infamous line.
That, wow.
Oh my God, it was crazy.
I know.
It was absolutely nuts. Just some of that stuff that he got to say. And I remember watching that and being like, whoa. What? Okay. It's like, just don't bring your dad into it. But wow, I'm glad you did. Actually.
The only reason that you've been so successful and I went out of business is because you had more money than me that you got from your dad's company. Your dad built up this company and you're just drilling it into the ground.
Yeah.
And what did you do? What did you do to make your company better? You copied me. You copied WCW because you don't have your own ideas. Royal Rumble wasn't your idea. That was Pat Patterson. King of the Ring, that wasn't your idea. That was Bruce Pritchard. You have had no original ideas since the 80s. And that's when you got in Hulk Hogan. And look where that got you. And it's like, what the hell?
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, preach, brother. What? But at the same time, I was like, how are you not on the deck right now? What? And then you find out it was like, say what you want as long as it brings me the money. And it did. Because
Yeah.
it was so true. What? And when as we circle back to WrestleMania, 13, so the reception of the actual WrestleMania pay-per-view itself was pretty lackluster. Not a lot of people liked it.
Yeah.
But the thing that saved it was the submission match between Hart and Austin, because that was the one that was
Yeah.
highly praised. Because in 2007, it was placed at number 1 on IGN's list of top 20 matches in WrestleMania history, being described as the match that, quote, launched an era, which in this case was the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
What,
Because if that match wasn't as brutal, and if it wasn't as significant with the double turn,
yeah,
I don't think the Attitude Era could have happened then. It would have been like another 5 years. They
yeah.
might have been able to push it through with the Montreal Screwjob. They might have been able to do it then. I mean, that was like a year and a half later, though.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
And it might not have happened if this hadn't succeeded, because Elusive of 411 Mania described the match as outstanding and that it helped propel Steve Austin into the stratosphere and become the star of the late 90s and early 2000s, while also, as you said, noting the double turn of the match. John Canton called the match wrestling perfection. It received a 5-star rating from David Meltzer, of all people.
yeah,
And
know
we know he
how his
doesn't give
ratings
them out.
usually go.
Yeah, and it was also voted match of the
He's
year in
giving out like three
1997.
5-star matches.
Yeah, and like I say, voted match of the year in 1997 by the Wrestling Observer newsletter publication. So yeah, it was very, very highly praised. And then obviously they would continue their rivalry after WrestleMania, but as stated, Austin was now the babyface. His popularity was soaring, and then Hart became the heel. And then they reformed the Hart Foundation, and that angle started to kind of play back in again. So it was
Yeah,
quite a significant match for something that I mean, in my case, I'd never seen it.
mm-hmm.
Never seen it live, and then watched it now as an adult, and I was like, I think I liked it most because it just reminds me of why I love theater
Yeah,
as well. What the live atmosphere, how a crowd can help shape a story, because wrestling essentially is improv theater with steel
yeah,
chairs.
pretty much.
And it's just and it's fantastic. They're telling a story through a physical form, but they've also got to feed off the crowd, and then they've got to make sure their dance partners are safe in the ring to do what they've got to do. And there's so many obstacles you've got to overcome.
Yeah,
And make sure and so many hazards you've got to be prepared for, so many risks. And I think that's why when people say wrestling is fake, so many wrestlers go, what? There's
I
so
know.
many hazards they've got to navigate through on a nightly basis. So
Oh.
yeah, it might be so that's why I think people now say it's scripted, because it
Mm-hmm.
sure ain't fake.
No, I mean, it also brought in like Ken Shamrock. I mean, this was like the first time like the WWF audience had seen him,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah,
he'd done like wrestling like years before, like
yeah,
between like 88 and like 93, and then after that he went to the UFC and just dominated it
mm-hmm.
until 97 when he left, and then he decided, I'll go back to wrestling, give that
Yeah,
another go. I'm getting given this contract to Vince McMahon, and it's fairly significant. I mean,
mm-hmm.
he's been quite frugal with his money, so the money that he got from being in WWE, he's still living off that. He doesn't
Aye.
need he doesn't need to work again.
Yeah.
And yet
definitely.
he still goes to all these like independent wrestle cons and stuff like that. Is that because the fans want to see me, so I'll go.
Yeah,
I got offers. They get the phones. You want to do this? Yeah, I'll do that. Who else is going? Oh, Al Snow's going to be there. I've not seen Al for a while. I'll go see him.
yep. Well, here's a
And
question for you as well. Because Ken Shamrock was a cross promotion, essentially, and that went well, and he got brought in. Do you think if Ken Shamrock's one hadn't gone well, that they wouldn't have got Mike Tyson in when it got to G Generation X?
I think they would have probably still got Mike Tyson in because they'd had like boxers in before. Because they'd had Muhammad Ali WrestleMania 1.
Yep.
So they knew what they were doing with like their other promotions,
Yeah.
the sister promotions, the UFCs and the boxings. So they knew who to get in and when to get them in.
Yeah.
And getting Mike Tyson in at that point, that was the best thing to do. I mean, he was coming off all that controversy at that
Yeah.
point. So he was like one of the biggest names. I mean, if the internet was big, he would have been trending at that point. Because everybody and their maws were talking about Mike Tyson. Did you see that? He bit off that guy's ear.
Yep.
Everybody was talking about it. So it's like, get him in. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, he's going to the wrestling. He's going to be wrestling.
I know. I think Luis Suarez missed an opportunity, didn't he?
Aye.
Well, after a couple of his biting times, I'm like, you could have just went to WWE, bit a guy, and then made loads of money, then came back to the football and bit another guy while making loads and loads of money.
Yep.
So what? It's
I
just
mean,
proof. When they told kids when they were younger not to bite people, clearly he didn't listen, and he's making a ton of money out of it. So kids, be biters.
I mean, they've got boxers in after Mike
Yeah, they've
Tyson,
had Tyson
Floyd Mayweather,
Fury, Floyd Mayweather.
Tyson
Yeah.
Fury. I mean, Floyd Floyd Mayweather going up against the Big Show, and it's like, so the Big Show goes on his knees, and
Yeah.
backstage, Big Show's like to him, look, just legitimately punch me, try and knock me out. So he's like, put his son's things back. He's like, go, do it, and he punches him, and then he runs because he's like, I'm a boxer, I can handle myself. But this guy is 4 times the size of me, 4 times the weight of me. All he needs to do is lie down on me, and I'm dead. So he gets out of there as quickly as he can. He's broke the big Show's nose, and he thinks this guy's going to kill me. And then when he gets back, he's like, that was brilliant. That was blood pouring at his face. That was brilliant.
It's like how when I saw the Comedy Central roast of Charlie Sheen and Steve-O was on it, and Mike Tyson was on it, and he's like, I'm going to take a punch off Mike Tyson. Oh, he's not taking a legit punch. He just ran into his fist. What? And I was like, I don't think that counts, buddy. Zach Galifianakis took a better punch than you. I was worried about pronouncing that name, but I got it right.
I'd say it still counts.
I would say so, because he still did cause himself some damage, and then he did it again at the end. And I was like, and this is you sober.
Yep.
What were you like when you were steaming?
Just watch Jackass.
Yeah, pretty much. Just watch Jackass. Well, we have covered the infamous no DQ submission / I Quit match from WrestleMania 13. So the question that I think that is the best way to kind of round these off now is, like, you'd remember them from watching it as a kid. So now that you're an adult, what has it improved the experience, or has it taken away from the experience? What's your thoughts?
I think I still had all the same feelings watching it. It was probably a 5-star match, I'd have to say. It was just, I mean, just with a double turn and like just feeling, I mean, even watching it back then, just feeling the audience completely change. It's a gut punch. It's like, wow, they have just completely turned. And like, it was like one move, and then all of a sudden, like, we hate you, Bret. And it's like, oh, where'd that come from? And it's
Mm,
just, it's one of those matches that I don't think, no matter how many times you watch it, you're still going to have those feelings of, wow.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Like I say, it was my first time watching it. What, but I could see where all the hype came from. What, and I had it. I mean, like the kind of promo at the start was, yeah, they were figuring out how to do them at that point. It was very
Yeah.
not basic, but it did what it needed to do. Well, it wasn't anything to write home about. Like Mankind and the Undertaker's one was better than that, and I didn't think that was that good.
Yeah.
Well, we were still figuring it out at the time. But the match itself did not let up from the word go. The second that it just came to that glass shattering, it was like, okay, shit has just gone down. And it did not stop. They kept the energy up, even when Austin is pissing with blood. His energy levels are higher than most crack addicts.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous how well they done. Even like Austin had Bret in like a Walls of Jericho kind of style submission, I
Yeah.
believe,
Mm-hmm.
at one point, and he's
Yeah.
doing that while he's got a busted leg. I can barely do that, and I've got two functioning legs. And it's and just watching it, some of the technicality stuff that Hart was doing, and then some of the brutality that was going to be established for what was going to come, going down the
Yeah.
line. It was something that I was like, I can see why it got the reviews that it got. There wasn't,
Yeah.
because you're normally looking for like a botched spot or whatever. Like I didn't see anything like that. The
Apparently
cool,
there was quite a lot.
yeah,
Like they botched so many spots,
yeah,
but it's just because the energy was so good in the match that
yeah,
nobody picked up on it. Nobody
uh,
backstage even picked up on them.
yeah. I think it was probably more a case of, because it was so visceral as well. You
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to tell what was a botch and what wasn't. When you've got more of a technical wrestling match, what you can sometimes tell, like, oh, they didn't hit that move right. Oh, they didn't hit that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a wrong way to put that submission on or whatever. But because the style was a mixture of both, it was so intense. What you wouldn't have been able to tell, like, oh, they arched that up. Who cares? You
Mm-hmm.
just leathered them. It's like, oh, wasn't meant to hit him that hard with a ring bell. You still hit him with a fucking bell. Eh?
I
The
know.
only thing that I would have said was not like a botch, but the only thing that I really noticed was Shamrock's suplex. Like I said, it looked a bit more like an angle slam,
Mm-hmm.
where I more thought, fuck, is Bret hurt? Is he legit hurt? But again, you can excuse that because Shamrock again he was UFC. He was just coming into the business. Of course, there's going to be a bit of a rust there, like when Brock Lesnar came back. And what he was close fist throughout.
Yeah.
So
The thing is though, when Ken Shamrock was coming in,
yeah,
Bret had been training him.
mhm,
So he'll been training him all these moves and stuff.
yeah,
And like Bret was trained by his dad, who would brutalize people.
oh yeah,
I've heard stories. Jake the Snake told a story that he went to train with Stu Hart for a bit just to see how things were going. And Stu Hart was like, right, Bret, come here. Right. So he's like, you do this move like that, but this is how you do it. And he's doing this to his son. And he goes, and legitimately knocks his son out. And Jake the Snake's like, and then he brings him around. It's like, right, and then you do this move, and you should do it like this, and then it legitimately knocks Bret out again. Like within the space of like 5 minutes, he's knocked his son out twice, and Jake the Snake's like, I would not like to be in this family.
yeah. And coming from Jake the Snake, whose
Yeah,
own upbringing was fucked up,
yeah,
by his own admission, saying he wouldn't want to be part of that family. Stu Hart had it right where he could brutalize your kids and get away with it because it
I'm
was
training
for
them.
I'm
I'm
training them
training them.
for an art form by choking them out several times a day. I don't care what if see if that Hart dungeon existed in the 21st century, he'd be in fucking jail.
Totally.
Guaranteed. No matter what they said. He would be in jail. He would be handling himself and training the killers how to be better wrestlers. But we'd end up with a full blown, like, escape from Alcatraz situation. But yeah, that would have been a very interesting time. Well, I just hope Bret Hart never hears this because I've just said that about his dad. He will kick my and we love you, Bret. We do. But get over the Goldberg thing already. Fuck's sake.
Sometimes you can't go over something.
Yeah, I know. I know that feeling. But yeah, come on.
I know.
You got over Shawn Michaels. That we did not think could ever happen. You can get over Goldberg, Bret.
Yeah. But that was Shawn. I mean, we all knew what he was like then.
Yeah, we all knew. But it was something. There was things we never thought we would see. Hell freezing over. Bret and Shawn reconciling. Guns N' Roses getting back together. And I'm pretty sure now all three have happened.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure hell. Yeah, I'm pretty sure hell is frozen over.
Yes. Well, Vince McMahon's back, so.
Oh yeah. We'll discuss that in post.
Yeah.
Discuss that in post. Anyway, fellow humans, thank you so much again for watching Raw as Ginger. Again, I have been co-host Andrew Durnan. Your main pilot, Kevin Tierney, has been the one that's been leading the charge. Who knows what we're going to be discussing next time, but until then, take care, stay safe, and good night.